back with another stream. This is a experimental attempt of reading things off a script. So I'll read from this. Yeah, better put the do not disturb. Okay, let's try one more time. Conditions of carriage for public buses in Singapore. This is what do I call it? Da-dun, da-dun, da-dun. Okay, without further ado, don't want to add any context yet. The conditions of carriage is a contractual agreement between passengers and public bus operators for the transport service rendered through fare payments and or arising from the granting of permission to board free bridging bus services and free boarding of regular public bus services specified herein. Introduction. All passengers agree to comply with these conditions of carriage when travelling on bus services operated by SBS Transit Limited, SMRT Buses Limited, Tower Transit Singapore Private Limited, and Go Ahead Singapore Private Limited, being public bus services defined below, free bridging bus services and free boarding of regular public bus services activated during train service disruptions and shuttle bus services during train service closures (public buses). Conditions of carriage. A. Orderly and decent passenger conduct. Passengers shall comply with all signs in and on public buses and cooperate and follow all reasonable instructions from bus captains, shortened BC, public transport officials and any representative of SBS Transit Limited, SMRT Buses Limited, Tower Transit Singapore Private Limited and Go Ahead Singapore Private Limited. Passengers shall behave in an orderly and lawful manner without causing nuisance or annoyance to other passengers, BC, of public buses, public transport officials, or any representative of SBS Transit Limited, SMRT Buses Limited, Tower Transit Singapore Private Limited, and Go Ahead Singapore Private Limited, including but not limited to by means of causing injury, verbal abuse, or obstruction. Passengers shall pay the correct fare in cash when boarding, or tap their card, device, token when boarding and alighting from public buses. For passengers using concession cards, such passengers shall only use concession cards if they are eligible for the concession. Upon request by BC or public transport officials, passengers shall present their cards, devices, tokens used for paying fares or fare receipts. Passengers shall not smoke on board public buses. Safe conduct. Passengers shall not stand on the upper deck or sit on the steps of double-deck public buses. Passengers shall not misuse grab poles and hand grips in public buses, such as by swinging or hanging from hand grips. Passengers shall not bring animals on board public buses unless expressly permitted by law. Passengers shall not bring into public buses otherwise provided for in these conditions of carriage or expressly permitted by law. Any article which is likely to cause any inconvenience, obstruction, discomfort, or injury to any passenger in public buses. Cause any damage to public buses or any property in public buses, or soil public buses or any passenger or property in public buses. And or any article with dimensions exceeding 120 centimeters by 70 centimeters by 40 centimeters. 2. Only bring up to one foldable bicycle into public buses if A. The bicycle is folded, B. The dimensions of the folded bicycle do not exceed 120 centimeters by 70 centimeters by 40 centimeters. The wheels of the foldable bicycle are covered in such manner so as to prevent any dirt on the wheels from being deposited in public buses or from soiling public buses or any passenger or property in public buses. The foldable bicycle handlebars and pedals that extend beyond the frame of the bicycle are enclosed in such manner so as to minimize the risk of injury to any passenger in public buses or damage to public buses or to any property in public buses, and for the duration that such a passenger with a permitted foldable bicycle remains in public bus, keep the bicycle folded with its longer side in a vertical position, comply with all the requirements in paragraphs 1b, 4, 2c, and 1b, 4, 2d above, where public buses have an upper deck. Ensure that the bicycle is not placed on the upper deck or on the stairs leading to the upper deck, and ensure that the bicycle is not left unattended, does not block the aisles of the public bus, or impede other passengers' movement while on board public buses. 3. Only bring up to one personal mobility device into public buses if A. The personal mobility device, if foldable, is folded. B. The dimensions of the personal mobility device are or the folded personal mobility device, if foldable, do not exceed 120 centimeters by 70 centimeters by 40 centimeters. C. The wheels of the personal mobility device are covered so as to prevent any dirt on the wheels being deposited in public buses or soiling public buses or any passenger or property in public buses. D. Any handlebar or pedal of the personal mobility device that extends beyond the frame of the personal mobility device is enclosed so as to minimize the risk of injury to any passenger in public buses or damage to public buses or to any property in public buses. And E. For the duration that such a passenger with a permitted personal mobility device remains in public bus, where the personal mobility device is propelled by an electric motor, switch off the personal mobility device immediately after boarding public buses and keep the personal mobility device switched off. Where the personal mobility device is foldable, keep the personal mobility device folded with its longest side in a vertical position. 3. Comply with all the requirements in paragraphs 1b, section 4.3c and 1b, section 4.3d above. Where public buses have an upper deck, ensure that the personal mobility device is not placed on the upper deck or on the stairs leading to the upper deck. And ensure that the personal mobility device is not left unattended, does not block the aisles of public bus or impede other passengers' movement while on board public bus. Passengers using a personal mobility aid shall ensure that the dimensions of the personal mobility aid do not exceed 120 centimeters in length, 70 centimeters in width, and 150 centimeters in height, measured from the floor to the top of the personal mobility aid or the passenger's head when seated on the personal mobility aid, whichever is higher. Passengers shall not speak to BC while on board public moving buses. Passengers should not speak to BC while on board moving public buses unless there is a reasonable cause to do so. Seven, passengers shall not bring strollers on the upper deck or on the stairs of double-deck public buses. Passengers with strollers on board public buses shall not at any time leave their strollers unattended, block the aisles of public buses, or impede other passengers' movement on board public buses. Passengers with strollers on board public buses shall hold on to the strollers for safety if a child is seated in such a stroller. Passengers shall not activate any emergency or safety devices on board public buses except for the intended purposes of such devices and in accordance with the instructions printed thereon. Passengers shall not damage or deface any parts of public buses. C. Maintaining public health and cleanliness. Passengers shall not board public buses with clothing that are in a condition likely to damage the public buses or cause nuisance, annoyance, or injury to any other passenger. Passengers shall not put their feet or any footwear on the seats, handles, against grabs pole, or any parts of public buses aside from the floors of public buses. Passengers shall not eat or drink on board public buses. Passengers shall tie or seal up open drinks and containers to prevent spillage on board public buses. Passengers shall not engage in any personal grooming, including but not limited to nail clipping, on board public buses which may soil public buses or any other passenger or property within public buses. Passengers shall not spit, place or throw litter, soil any fittings, equipment or property on board public buses. D. Ensuring gracious and inclusive public transport journeys. Seated passengers, especially those in priority seats, should offer the seat to other passengers who may need it more, including but not limited to elderly passengers, pregnant passengers, passengers with disability or who have mobility difficulties, young children, unwell passengers, or passengers with a "May I have a seat please" identifier. When public buses are crowded without vacant seats, each passenger and his belongings shall not occupy more than one seat or obstruct other passengers' use of other seats. When public buses are crowded, standing passengers shall move as far as possible to the back of public buses without obstructing other passengers from boarding or alighting. When public buses are crowded, passengers with strollers shall fold their strollers and give priority to a wheelchair user in the wheelchair bay on board public buses. Passengers shall not bring on board durians that are not vacuum sealed packaging or are in a form that may cause hurt, harm, or discomfort to other passengers or damage or soil public buses. Passengers shall not speak on the phone or with other passengers or operate any device at a volume that causes nuisance, annoyance, or inconvenience to other passengers. When using a phone or other device emitting sound on board public buses, passengers should use an earpiece or headset. Non-compliance with these conditions of carriage. 2. Where there is any non-compliance with these conditions of carriage by passengers on board public buses, A. BC can instruct non-compliant passengers to comply immediately, and B, passengers who remain non-compliant despite BC's instruction to comply can be instructed by BC to alight from such public bus without fare refund. 3. Where there is continued non-compliance, BC can A. Stop operating the public bus until the non-compliant passenger leaves the public bus and or request for police assistance, and stop operating the public bus until the matter is handed over to the police. Definitions. For public buses should have the meaning set out in paragraph 1 of this condition of carriage. Public bus service means a service consisting of the carriage of passengers for fare by buses operated A. at predetermined timetables, and B. on a fixed route on routes for journeys wholly or partly within Singapore, with 2 or more buses stopping points within Singapore, provided under a bus service contract entered into by the Land Transport Authority of Singapore under the Bus Services Industry Act 2015. 6. Fare means the price payable by individual passenger for any bus services and includes the provision of or arrangement for a discount, concession, allowance, rebate, or credit applying in relation to the price payable for use of that service. 7. Public transport official refers to any person appointed as a public transport official under the Public Transport Council Act 1987. And that was the complete reading of conditions of carriage for public buses in Singapore. And now for my input, because it's really too dry to just read off the script. Okay, number 1, self-explanatory. Okay, you take bus, you follow their rules. So what their rules consist of: comply with all signs in and on public buses. So if you don't follow what is being indicated on the bus signs, okay, you can be asked to get off. Passengers shall behave in an orderly and lawful manner without causing nuisance or annoyance. Basically, if you are going to be annoying someone, you can be asked to get off the bus. Okay, I wonder, both young and old, students making too much noise, talking to one another, the elderly creating sounds higher than a certain decibel through physical or non-physical means, they can both be asked to be taken off the bus. Okay, passengers will pay the correct fare in cash when boarding or tap their card. Okay, this should be self-explanatory. Okay, if you are to engage in fare dodging, whether by not tapping your EasyLink or by paying less than the amount required in cash, well, tough luck, no refunds, you get off the bus. Passengers shall not smoke on board public buses. I thought that should be self-explanatory. Whoever decides to smoke in the bus, I think you won't need the bus captain to throw them off. Okay, safe conduct. Passengers shall not stand on the upper deck. Yes, it has been understood that we do not stand on the upper deck, even if all the seats are full. Most Singaporeans and locals will understand this. This is to prevent toppling of the bus, where the center of gravity is shifted higher because of all the body masses on the upper deck. Passengers shall not misuse grab poles and hand grips in public buses, such as by swinging or hanging from the hand grips. So no wannabe gymnasts. Okay, the grab poles are not for you to do hand twirls, pull-ups. Okay. Passengers should not bring animals on board. Yeah. Yeah, even pets are not allowed. Okay, you will have to bring your own private transport when bringing your pets from point A to point B. Okay. What else? Passengers shall not bring any article which is likely to cause any inconvenience, obstruction. So you shouldn't be bringing in bulky items. Number one. Okay, you should not be bringing any sharp objects that would pierce the upholstery. Soil any public buses. I guess that this is up for interpretation, but anything that dirties the upholstery would be uh, fulfilling this particular article. Any articles with dimension exceeding 120 centimeters by 70 centimeters by 40. Okay, so on most MRT stations, you would see a height ruler. Okay, with a young girl as one of its motif. Okay, so any children that exceeds the ruler will be taller than 120 centimeters, and they'll be required to pay a fare. But here we are talking about articles. Okay, you shouldn't be bringing any sticks that's going to be exceeding this dimension. Okay, the by 70 by 40, that would most likely be referring to the maximum dimensions of the foldable bicycle. Okay, 70 centimeters width would be about half the width of a standing adult. 40 centimeters, it should be the height. Okay, but depending on how you rotate your article, the length and the height can be interchangeable. So all in all, if your article is supposed to be occupying the space of more than one large adult, they probably would not expect you to bring it up to a public bus. Okay. A bicycle that is folded that does not exceed 120 centimeters by 70 by 40, that will be most compact city foldable bicycle. We are not talking about the foldable military mountain bike variety, because that would probably exceed the dimensions of the width and height. So the overall dimension really depends, because the wheels of a mountain bike is already large enough. Okay, the wheels of a foldable bicycle are covered in such a manner as to prevent any dirt on the wheels from being deposited in public bus. Like, I get it, you just cycle a distance, the wheels have been in contact with the road. So if you have been cycling on a muddy road, it means to say that it is less desirable to bring that muddied foldable bicycle out onto the bus. Well, have you actually seen such a scenario happening before? And even if you didn't, now you shouldn't. Okay, so that would mean that ideally you will need a wheel cover to bring your foldable bicycle up onto a public bus. Okay, so for all these articles, they are mostly concerned with foldable bicycles. But then now, if you continue on to the personal mobility device, and you are expected to follow the same dimensions. Okay, now 120 centimeters will definitely be the length. you can't expect to flip up your battery-powered four-wheel personal mobility device just to be able to fit into this dimension. Right, and if you're driving a four-wheel electric-powered personal mobility device, I don't think you actually want to go up to the upper deck. Okay, sounds a bit unnecessary, but since it's on black and white, it's better to state that you shouldn't be bringing it up rather than leave it open for interpretation. Okay, what's this? Passengers shall not speak to BC while on board moving buses unless there's a reasonable cause to do so. So if asking, is the next stop here, is this going to be a valid reason to speak to the BC? Definitely, chit-chatting would not be a reasonable reason. Probably have to look into what other scenarios will constitute not a reasonable cause. Because anything related to your trip is supposed to be reasonable cause. Requesting to alight from the bus is also reasonable cause. Passengers shall not bring strollers on the upper deck. Most parents would choose not to do so. They just putting it in writing so that the stroller stays on the lower deck. Okay. Now coming to the maintaining public health and cleanliness. Shall not board the bus with clothing that are in a condition likely to damage the bus or cause annoyance, injury to any other passenger. So I guess a Durian armor would constitute clothing that would likely to damage the bus or cause nuisance and annoyance. Okay. If you are wearing cosplay, let's just hope that the cosplay is made of soft material so as not to cause any damage. Passengers should not put their feet on any parts aside from the floors of public buses. Okay, makes sense, because usually when you have a set of 4 seats facing each other, it'll be very tempting to put your feet up on the opposing chair since it's possible to do so. Passengers shall not engage in any personal grooming. With emphasis on not limited to nail clipping. So I guess the number one annoying act of personal grooming on a bus is clipping your nails. But also consider the possibility of other personal grooming acts like putting on makeup, cutting of hairs, plucking of facial hairs with tweezers or 2 coins. Those are very possible other acts of grooming. Okay, passengers shall not spit, place or throw litter. Yeah, you dirty the bus, you get off. Seated passengers should offer the seat to other passengers who may need it more. Okay, if this is being included in the conditions of carriage, does it mean should you refuse to offer your seat, you can be thrown off the bus? Or could you be made to comply and offer your seat? Up for debate. But usually, Singaporeans will gladly offer their seat to people who deserve it more. Okay. I'm not talking about scenarios where there could be a conflict of I need the seat more than you, so I shouldn't be offering the seat to you. It should be excluding these kind of scenarios. Like let's say you have two silvered generation adults. Okay, one of them is seated and the other one is standing. Okay, are you gonna be judge, jury, and executioner? Okay, to decide who needs the seat more than the other. That would be quite difficult to decide. Yeah, passengers should not bring on board durians. Okay, this is just to put it in writing. I wonder if most of the buses still contain the no durian sign. Okay, passengers should not speak on the phone or with other passengers or operate any device at a volume that causes nuisance. Right. So try to remain as silent as you can to ensure a most conducive commute experience. Okay, this would be the number one reason for being kicked off a bus going forward, now that the conditions of carriage is already disclosed to the public. So let's see from 10th of March onwards, if there will be increasing reports of unruly passengers being ejected from the bus, or if the bus stops operating completely because somebody is causing a nuisance on the bus. Okay. It will become a very sticky situation if unruly behavior happens while the bus is traveling on an expressway, because there is no way the bus captain could do a stop on the expressway just to eject the passenger. They will have to carry on the journey until they turn off from the expressway, meaning to exit the expressway before they can legally stop and eject the passenger in a safe manner. So we shall see. I'm more interested in knowing whether the passengers would have actually understood what's needed of them as they take the public transport. Because who's going to have time to go and read a bus-coc.pdf if it's not part of their normal work? Okay, and that concludes my part on the conditions of carriage for public buses in Singapore. Next up, I would like to attempt to read the report of the Electoral Boundaries Review Committee 2025. Yes, Singapore will be holding its general election this year in 2025. About 1 month ago. Is it 1 month ago? Right. The Electoral Boundaries Committee was commissioned to study the boundaries of the various single and group representatives. So now this is what comes out of their research. Alright, let me start. Command 34th, 2025, presented to Parliament by Command of the President of the Republic of Singapore, ordered by Parliament to lie upon the table. Report 11 March 2025. White paper on the report of the Electoral Boundaries Review Committee. The Prime Minister received the report of the Electoral Boundaries Review Committee on 7 March 2025. The committee recommended the adoption of 33 electoral divisions comprising 15 single-member constituency and 18 group representation constituency with a total of 97 members of parliament to be returned. The recommended electoral divisions are the single-member constituencies Bukit Gombak, Bukit Panjang, Hougang, Jalan Kayu, Jurong Central, Kebun Baru, Marymount, Mountbatten, Pioneer, Potong Pasir, Queenstown, Radin Mas, Sembawang West, Tampines Changkat, Yio Chu Kang. Group representation constituencies: 4-member GRCs: Bishan Toa Payoh, Choa Chu Kang, Holland Bukit Timah, Jalan Besar, Marsiling UT, Pasir Ris Changi, Punggol, Sengkang. 5 MP GRCs: Aljunied, Ang Mo Kio, East Coast, Jurong East Bukit Batok, Marine Parade Braddell Heights, Nee Soon, Sembawang, Tampines, Tanjong Pagar, West Coast Jurong West. The government has accepted the recommendations of the committee and will implement them at the next general election. The committee's report is attached as an appendix. Prime Minister Singapore. Sir, the Electoral Boundaries Review Committee, EBRC, was appointed to review the electoral boundaries based on the following terms of reference. To review the boundaries of the present electoral divisions and to recommend the number and boundaries of group representation constituencies and single-member constituencies based on the number of electors found in the latest register of electors. The committee shall take into consideration significant changes in the number of electors in the current electoral divisions as a result of population shifts and housing developments. In determining the number and size of GRCs and SMCs, the committee shall seek to keep the average size of GRCs, the proportion of members of parliament elected from SMCs, and the average ratio of electors to elected MPs, all about the same as that in the last general election. This report sets out the committee's recommendations and rationale for its main recommendations. Based on the second paragraph of the TOR, the committee used the following General Election 2020 parameters to guide its recommendations. 1. The average size of GRCs. 79 MPs divided by 17 GRCs, 4.65. Proportion of MPs elected from SMCs, 14 MPs out of 93 MPs, which is 15%, rounded to the nearest 1 decimal place. Average ratio of electors to elected MPs, 2,651,435 electors divided by 93 MPs, which is 28,510 electors per MP. So with 28,510 electors per MP, a 4 MP GRC would comprise of an average of 114,000 electors, while a 5 MP GRC would comprise on average 143,000 electors, round to the nearest 1,000. Population shifts and housing developments. The number of electors in the latest provisional registers of electors as of 1st February 2025 is 2,753,226, an increase of 101,791 electors from the 2,651,435 electors at GE 2020. However, this growth was not evenly distributed across the various electoral divisions. Due to population shifts and new housing developments, some EDs such as Pasir Ris Punggol GRC, Sembawang GRC, Tampines GRC, Hong Kong North SMC, and Potong Pasir SMC have experienced higher growth than others. The committee's recommendations can be broadly grouped into three categories as follows. A. EDs with proposed changes to electoral boundaries due to significant growth in the number of electors. The committee started by reviewing EDs which had grown significantly since the last GE, namely Pasir Ris Punggol GRC, Hong Kong North SMC, Sembawang GRC, and Tampines GRC. Pasir Ris Punggol GRC has seen the largest increase in the number of electors since the last GE and will continue to grow with new housing developments. Hence, the committee recommended carving out the Punggol estates in Pasir Ris Punggol GRC to merge with Punggol West SMC to form a new 4 MP Punggol GRC. This will also better reflect the identity of the estates in Punggol Town. Considerations and recommendations for the remaining Pasir Ris estates in Pasir Ris Punggol GRC are in paragraph 11. Hong Kong North SMC has grown significantly and will continue to grow rapidly in the coming years due to new housing developments in Tengah and Bukit Batok West. It has become too big to remain as an SMC. The committee recommended that the Tengah estates be absorbed into Choa Chu Kang GRC to maintain Choa Chu Kang GRC as a 4 MP GRC while accommodating significant future population growth in Tengah. The committee recommended carving out the Bukit Gombak and Hillview estates to form a new Bukit Gombak SMC. Considerations and recommendations for the remaining Bukit Batok West estates in Hong Kong North SMC are in paragraph 14. So in view of the growth in Sembawang GRC and Tampines GRC, the committee recommended carving out polling districts from Sembawang GRC to form a new Sembawang West SMC, and polling districts from Tampines GRC to form a new Tampines Changkat SMC. The committee also recommended reducing the size of Ang Mo Kio GRC, which has the most electors of any ED, by carving out some polling districts to form a new Jalan Kayu SMC. B. EDs with proposed consequential changes to electoral boundaries due to changes to adjacent EDs. Following the creation of the new Punggol GRC, the committee recommend merging the remaining polling districts of Pasir Ris Punggol GRC with the adjacent polling districts from East Coast GRC, comprising of Loyang and Flora estates, to form a new 4 MP Pasir Ris Punggol GRC. Consequentially, the committee recommended that East Coast GRC take in adjacent polling districts for Marine Parade GRC, comprising the Chai Chee HDB estates and the Siglap private estates, and remain as a 5 MP GRC. Given the high population growth in Potong Pasir SMC because of new HDB developments in Bidadari, the committee recommended moving some polling districts from Potong Pasir SMC to Marine Parade GRC. It also recommended that Marine Parade GRC absorbs MacPherson SMC and an adjacent polling district for Mountbatten SMC to remain as a 5 MP GRC. Even with the Tengah estates being absorbed into Choa Chu Kang GRC, paragraph 8, the remaining Hong Kong SMC comprising Bukit Batok West estates is still too big and growing. The committee recommended that the remaining polling districts of Hong Kong North SMC, together with the adjacent polling districts in Bukit Batok and Yihua SMCs, merged with Jurong GRC to form a new Jurong East Bukit Batok GRC. To maintain the new Jurong East Bukit Batok GRC as a 5MP GRC, the committee recommended carving out some polling districts to form a new Jurong Central SMC and moving some estates in Jurong West and Taman Jurong to the adjacent West Coast GRC. The latter will be renamed as West Coast Jurong West GRC. To maintain West Coast Jurong West GRC as a 5MP GRC, the committee recommended carving out the easternmost polling district of the current West Coast GRC, comprising estates in Harbourfront and Sentosa, and placing it under Radin Mas SMC. In addition, the committee recommended moving the polling districts in the Dover and Telok Blangah estates to the adjacent Tanjong Pagar GRC. To maintain Tanjong Pagar as a 5MP GRC, the committee recommended carving out some estates in Queenstown to form a new Queenstown SMC. Even the bug is reading. No, don't expect me to blow it away. C. EDs with proposed minor or no electoral boundary changes. The committee also recommended regularizing some of the electoral boundaries along key geographical features. In particular, the HDB developments under construction at Real Green 1 at CCK and Real Green 2 at CCK to straddle the current electoral boundary between Choa Chu Kang and Holland Bukit Timah GRCs. The boundary was aligned to the former railway track which no longer exists. The committee therefore recommended realigning the electoral boundary along Woodlands Road instead, effectively assigning these new HDB estates to Choa Chu Kang GRC. Similarly, the committee recommended moving polling districts in Tampines West, east of Bedok Reservoir, currently under Aljunied GRC, to Tampines GRC. The committee also recommended that Holland Bukit Timah GRC takes a polling district east of Upper Bukit Timah Road, currently under Jurong GRC. The committee recommended maintaining status quo for Bishan Toa Payoh, Jalan Besar, Marsiling UT, Nee-Soon, Sengkang GRCs, and Bukit Panjang, Hougang, Marymount, and Pioneer SMCs. The naming of EDs. The committee noted that the use of double-barreled names to better reflect the identities of the geographical areas in the GRCs. The committee recommended continuing this practice for the new GRCs vis-a-vis Jurong East Bukit Batok, Pasir Ris Changi, and West Coast Jurong West GRCs. He also recommended renaming Marine Parade GRC as Marine Parade Braddell Heights GRC. Based on the committee's recommendations, the outcomes are as follows. The average size GRCs, based on the recommended, changed from 4.65 to 4.56. Proportion of MPs elected from SMCs, 15.1% to 15.5%. Average ratio of electors to elected MPs, 28,510 to 28,384 electors per MP. In summary, the committee recommends the following 33 EDs, comprising 18 GRCs and 15 SMCs represented in total by 97 elected MPs. 5 MP GRCs are Aljunied, Ang Mo Kio, East Coast, Jurong East Bukit Batok, Marine Parade Braddell Heights, Nee-Soon, Sembawang, Tampines, Tanjong Pagar, West Coast Jurong West. 4 MP GRCs, Bishan Toa Payoh, Choa Chu Kang, Holland Bukit Timah, Jalan Besar, Marsiling UT, Pasir Ris Changi, Punggol, Sengkang. SMCs, Bukit Gombak, Bukit Panjang, Hougang, Jalan Kayu, Jurong Central, Kebun Baru, Marymount, Mountbatten, Pioneer, Potong Pasir, Queenstown, Radin Mas, Sembawang West, Tampines Changkat, Yio Chu Kang. So the list of existing and proposed EDs arranged in descending order of the number of electors and the map of the proposed EDs are in the annexes. Signed by Mr. Tan Ki Yong, Chairman, Mr. Tan Ming Dui, Member, Dr. Koh In Chuan, Member, Mr. Colin Law, Member, Mr. Lim Ziyang, Secretary. Date 7 March 2025. So the list of electoral divisions. Ang Mo Kio with the largest number of electors, followed by Pasir Ris, Punggol, Tampines, Sembawang, Nee-Soon, West Coast, Aljunied, Tanjong Pagar, Marine Parade, Jurong, East Coast, Sengkang, Holland Bukit Timah, Marsiling UT, Choa Chu Kang, Jalan Besar, Bishan Toa Payoh, Hongkong North, Bukit Panjang, Potong Pasir, Bukit Batok, Hougang, Mountbatten, MacPherson, Punggol West, Yio Chu Kang, Pioneer, Marymount, Radin Mas, Kebun Baru. Yuhua, total 93 with 2,753,226 electors. The list of proposed electoral divisions, 5-member GRC, the following polling districts. Okay, I don't read that out. Ang Mo Kio 11 to 65. Okay, it's going to be very difficult for me to understand. Okay, I'll just leave the information on the screen. Jurong East, Bukit Batok, Tanjong Pagar, Sembawang, Marine Parade, Braddell Heights. Four-member GRCs continued. Sengkang, Punggol, Holland Bukit Timah, Marsiling UT, Jalan Besar, Pasir Ris Changi, Bishan Toa Payoh, Choa Chu Kang. Similar member constituencies, Bukit Panjang, Potong Pasir, Jurong Central, Jalan Kayu, Hougang, Queenstown, Bukit Gombak, Radin Mas, Yio Chu Kang. Pioneer, Sembawang West, Tampines Changkat, Marymount, Mountbatten, Kebun Baru, making up the total electors of 2,753,226. Okay, and I guess we have reached the end of the document, and attached is the annex of the various electoral boundaries. I only have 720p resolution to play with. Is it enough? Okay, to show a clear delineation of where is where. It's gonna be a challenge. Okay, let's try to sweep from left to right. Okay, so each of the black lines demarcate the electoral boundary, the electoral division, I guess, and the red would be the makeup of the SMCs and GRCs. Okay, unmarked. All right. Okay, so that's my attempt at reading out the report on Electoral Boundaries Review Committee. Okay, I'm not really a political person. The only thing that will affect me is where am I supposed to vote and what kind of electoral canvassing posters I will be able to see. Okay, I guess this bug isn't going away. Okay, so as a layman, reading it from the top, okay, I am bound to be missing the point most of the time. But I guess the change in boundaries is being explained in this manner. Population shifts and housing development. Okay, what I understand from this is these 4 GRCs from 2020 onwards have seen a significant growth. So the number of eligible voters in these few GRCs has increased and has skewed the proportion of whatever the average that they try to calculate here. So it means that since Singapore is not growing uniformly everywhere, okay, these GRCs highlighted are now the cause for the entire reason why the electoral boundaries are being changed. So they started off with trying to balance out whatever there is here, and in order to balance out the numbers, they have looked at all the other adjacent GRCs. Meaning to say that should those GRCs did not expand too significantly, everything could have remained the status quo, probably with plus and minus at various sizes of the other SMCs. No. Adding one part of a GRC into another part of a GRC, that's what I wanted to describe. And because they have started to look into all the other adjacent GRCs, they have decided to carve one part of this to bring to another, and for whatever they cannot divide accordingly, they put it as a SMC. That is why the consequential changes is being explained in part B onwards. Okay. Whatever they see balances out the average, they recommended no change. All in an attempt to maintain the same proportions as the past. Whether you agree to this methodology or not, it doesn't matter because it is a methodology. And since it has already been submitted, it is not in our position to approve or disapprove. In other words, suck thumb. Okay, but anyway, if they have managed to splendidly preserve the proportions compared to the previous election, then end of the day, yeah, it's just a change of red lines. So what can I say? Let's just continue to do our best, taking into heart that even with these changes, it does not divide or it does not lessen the worth of each local eligible voter. As other people might put it, vote wisely. I guess that's about all I would like to show. Yeah, so before I end the stream, might as well give you all a look at the surrounding greenery in a sea of concrete. Okay, this is a rooftop garden on top of a multi-story car park somewhere in Singapore. Okay, as with other mobile live streams, please wait for the stream to be unprivated after it ends so that you can continue viewing the rest of the streams. Well, let me know in the comment section if you have any feedback on what you have just seen. It's all experimental to me. Okay, carrying a tablet and carrying a mobile phone definitely looks different. Yeah. Okay, but in any case, thank you for watching. Subscribe and click the notification button to be informed of future content. Yeah, let's just tour one more round. Hope to see you in the next video. But until then, hope you found the stream to be satisfactory.